Hello and greetings. Today is day number 74 of my semen retention journey. It's funny, I told myself I wasn't even going to invest a lot of money into making these videos, but I like to go out in the woods a lot, and sometimes you can't find a rock or a branch or anything like that to prop your phone up on, so I went and got me a tripod. So comes in handy. And got back to my little waterfall here in town with a different view. But anyway, 74 days of semen retention, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. However, I have discovered something that has been hindering my growth, that has stunted me in my growth and my progress. The other day, I made a video about addictions, certain addictions, but I didn't really get into a lot with most of them that I mentioned. But I've struggled with weed addiction. I've done a little coke, some speed, and some meth, and some Molly, and all that in my younger years. And I mentioned those. About 2 weeks into my semen retention journey, I put down the weed. Haven't had any since, and that feels pretty good. But there's something else going on, and this is something that I failed to mention. I mentioned a lot of substances, but I failed to mention caffeine. And caffeine has really wrecked my life, and I believe that it's been stunting my growth on semen retention. And funny thing is it's legal, so it's really not considered to be an illicit substance. It is widely socially acceptable. We live in a culture where coffee and soda and energy drinks are just a part of daily life, and nobody bats an eye. Here in the town that I live in, there's a couple of Starbucks locations. There's a Dutch Brothers, and I think one called Semen something or whatever that is. But they're all over the place, and you can buy these really expensive and complex coffee makers and brew machines. So people have invested a lot of money into these things. But anyway, back when I was a kid, my parents permitted me to have soda, and I turned into an absolute Mountain Dew junkie. Loved it. And I would drink, if my mom and dad would allow me, I'd drink a 2 liter a day, and sometimes even more. 6-pack a day, whatever. And they really didn't say much about it, because back then it was cheap. You can get it on the cheap from any grocery store. And over the years, probably before I was even 8 years old, I had a dependency on soda, Mountain Dew, and I never really thought that was a big deal, and evidently my parents didn't either. Of course, they were kind of half absent when I was growing up anyway, and it was, actually an abusive kind of situation that I grew up in. But they didn't care until, I'm an adult all of a sudden. But when I was 29 years old, I went to a faith-based drug and alcohol treatment center, and it was on campus, and I was there for a year. And while I was there, I learned a lot of things, and it has served me well in a lot of ways. And I quit using cocaine and meth and all that, mollies. And it's funny, this leads into a little story I gotta tell about it, about coffee and caffeine. I and several other people are the reasons why caffeine in any form are no longer allowed on campus at this treatment center. See, what happened was, me and a group of guys that were in the program there, we were hanging out on a Sunday afternoon in the dorm room of one of the staff members, and we were watching football. And he brought out a package of Starbucks. And, you know, up until that point, we were allowed to have one cup of coffee, and it was a small cup too. It wasn't very big. You would probably be getting a measured cup for real. And that was all we were allowed to have during the day. If we went out off of campus and went to other churches while we're out and about, and we went to Walmart or a gas station or whatever, no sodas, no coffee, no nothing. And there were several students that got in trouble for that. But at any rate, there was a nice coffee maker in the kitchen, and me and 3 other guys operated the kitchen every single day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And and this staff member, he decided he was going to bring his big pouch of Starbucks coffee downstairs, because that's where we had a really nice coffee maker. Big mistake on his part, because he got in trouble for this too. Well, every once in a while, the assistant director there would come in and do an inspection of our kitchen. And it was always random. He never made an announcement for it. It was kind of like those surprise locker checks when you were in high school. It was very random. It might have been once a week. It might have been once a month. It might have been once every couple of months. But every once in a while, he would come in there and look around, see if everything was in place, see if everything was clean and orderly. And he came in there one day and found the coffee, and it was not the cheap, you know, Folgers, instant Folgers brand that we had there. It was Starbucks. And this is a place where a lot of people in the area made donations in food and drink donations to the campus there. And they would look at everything that came in. Nothing went past them. Nothing went, you know, slipped in under their nose. It was just there. And so they would make a long list of everything that came in, and we had to pay attention to how much we had and when it ran out and everything else. You know, especially with, you know, things that we used to cook with. But the crazy thing is, yeah, we got caught with that, and a staff member got in trouble. All 4 of us in the kitchen got in trouble, and I personally had to dig up a tree stump. That was my punishment. And yeah, they if you got in trouble there, boy, you paid for it. And this wasn't just some little tiny tree stump either. This thing was a good solid chunk. And we didn't have any electric or gas operated equipment or like a stump grinder or anything like that. We had to do it physically. So they gave me a pickaxe, and that's all I had. And from that point forward, no caffeine, no coffee, no soda, no nothing was allowed on campus. And all of us had a rough time, and we went through the acute withdrawals of the caffeine. But after a while, we were just fine. But I would later on that year, the next following year, at the end of my time there, I would graduate from the program, and what's the first thing I did? I stopped in Princeton there and went to the local Starbucks and got me a big, huge white chocolate mocha. And it jacked me hard. I was like, and then it was like, I was right back into it and had been ever since, up until just, you know, here, well, we'll give it 2 weeks from now. But yeah, I've been finding that this has been hindering my growth and my progress on semen retention. I've been feeling a lot of the benefits. I have more energy, I guess you can say. But what's the difference between clean energy and substance energy? I want the clean energy. That's what I want. Because here lately, I've still been kind of irritable, jitters, kind of sometimes in fight or flight mode, hypervigilance. So this dawned on me just the other day. It's like, wow, this is a problem, man. I feel like I'm not getting all the benefits I should be from being on semen retention. And I thought, well, it's just my age. I'm 52. You know, I'm sure that a lot of these guys in their younger years, they're bursting at the seams after just 2 weeks or 30 days. But I think there's more. There's got to be more. And I'm coming up on my 90 days now. So there's got to be more. So being the nerd that I am, I had to sit down and do some research and make some correlations with my research and my current health. I gotta listen to my body. That's one thing, folks. When you're on semen retention, you learn to listen to your body, and that's what I'm doing. It all caught up to me in my late 30s because it wasn't just soda at the time. It was coffee, and I would have that afternoon crash like people usually do. The heavy drinkers would have that afternoon crash and re-up, about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And sometimes for me, it was into the evening. And then I'd wonder why. Well, why am I not sleeping well? Why am I getting up 3 or 4 times a night to piss? Hello? And then it just crashed in on me. But after doing some, looking at the labels and everything of what, the coffee I was drinking, and, of course, I stopped drinking soda a while back, though, before semen retention. I bought one day a few months back, and it just didn't taste right, so I quit drinking soda. And then it just became all about coffee and energy drinks. I found that I really years ago I fell in love with the Monster Mochas. So that it was that and coffee. Sometimes I go to Starbucks or whatever. I would always have coffee. And I got to looking at the labels and everything, and I discovered that I was consuming at the bare minimum of about 400 milligrams a day of coffee. And that's just insane. That is absolutely insane. Average is like 150 to 200 for most people. Most people just have that 1 cup in the morning, and they're good for the rest of the day. But when it comes to me and addictions, I can't just do a little bit at a time. I've known people smoke weed. I might have some a little every once in a while in a social situation. I might have a little here and there. But come on, I'm not like that. It's either full speed ahead or nothing at all. And that's the way I'm going to treat semen retention. It's either full speed ahead or I'm going to retain. And to me, they say, yeah, if you relapse, just pick yourself up, no big deal, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'll do that. But, I'm going to hate it. So that's why I have to be aware of where I was. Awareness is key. And this is really no different than any other substance or caffeine for that matter. I have to be aware of where I've been for the last couple decades with it. Over time, just like blowing your load all the time, it catches up with you. And caffeine is no different. But yeah, I did some research, and see if I can pronounce this word right. What caffeine does is it blocks A1A and A2A adenosine receptors. And this is a chemical, it's a natural chemical in your brain, and if it's firing normally, if this is flowing normally during, late in the day, you're gonna start to wind down naturally to prepare yourself for sleep. It runs in conjunction with melatonin and serotonin. It's going to help you wind down and go to sleep. Let's see, what else does it have? So is coffee, it promotes wakefulness, energy, reduced fatigue, and focus and alertness, blah, blah, blah. But over time, it just did not work that well for me anymore. It's just kind of like just jolts me awake a little bit, and then I still get the jitters, I still get the agitation, I still, sometimes end up in fight or flight mode, and things just, clumsiness, things just start going wrong. But it doesn't anymore. I call it faux energy. So what it actually does for me: jitters, anxiety, irritability, insomnia, frequent trips to the bathroom at night. And here's another one: I've always had a messed up stomach. So this, it can cause problems in your GI functions and your bowel movements. So at this point, it's funny. I went to a Chinese restaurant a few weeks back, and I opened up a fortune cookie, and it says, "This week," and I even kept it. "This week, remove all things from your life that no longer serve you." With semen retention, I want to grow to be a better man. And these things, like caffeine's no exception, is hindering my growth, and I look for full-on benefits. Now, this is just me. I don't want to be dogmatic here, because there are some viewers that I might, I have my morning cup and that's it, and I just have a little bit. Hey, good on you. Good on you. That's great. But I'm just, when I started this channel, I wanted to share my experience, and if it resonates with you, then hey, then anything that I can do to help, give back to this brotherhood. But so I made the decision. I made this decision just the other day, and I'm almost out of coffee today. I am out of coffee now. Today I had my last cup, and when I, just like with nicotine, cigarettes, I made the decision some 30 years ago that I was going to just quit cigarettes, and no turning back. I quit cold turkey and no turning back, and I was a hellion. I was really, I wasn't sick, but I was kind of demonic for about 3 or 4 days right after I quit. Because I just had to find something different to do with my time, and it's a psychological addiction. But caffeine is both psychological and physical. So, if you're on semen retention, I would not advise going off of coffee cold turkey, because the acute withdrawal symptoms are brutal. We're talking massive headaches, sometimes migraine headaches, and you feel physically sick. Everything gets knocked out of whack, so I would advise tapering off, which is what I'm going to do. So I quit drinking coffee, and I got me some green tea with some adaptogenic, sometimes it's hard to say that word, mushrooms, and it's got all 7, and those promote growth and wellness. I'll probably make a video on that pretty soon. So I've got this green tea matcha mix, and it takes 12 ounces of hot water and a teaspoon, and that's 47 milligrams of caffeine. So basically I have cut my caffeine content way down, and starting tomorrow morning I start with green tea, and that's it. And it's just going to be in the morning, and yeah, it's a drastic drop from 400 milligrams a day, and I know I'm probably going to get the headaches and everything, but I will get used to it. I'm not completely cutting it off just yet. I've got like a 10-day supply, so I'm going to see how it works, and after 10 days, and eventually that teaspoon is going to go down to a half teaspoon, and that half teaspoon is going to go down to a quarter teaspoon. So this is a gradual weaning off, a gradual tapering off. So yeah, I'm looking for full-on benefits of semen retention. A lot of men do semen retention for different reasons. A lot of men do intermittent, if they're married or they have a girlfriend, retention for a week, 2-3 weeks at a time. But for me, unless it's with the right woman, forget it. I ain't into it. So it's either full on, go, or nothing at all, just like everything else. But I'll end with this, and this makes complete sense to me. Romans 12:2 says, "And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed to the renewing of your mind." I think I mentioned this one before. And I think a part of that renewing of my mind is purging some things, or purging everything that hinders my growth on semen retention, and that hinders my growth as a Christian man in general. I want all the benefits. Some men say, they're doing semen retention. Do I want to attract women? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that feels nice, but it's still a dopamine rush. It feels nice to be checked out. I've been being checked out. I thought I was being followed earlier. A nice looking woman come walking through here, much younger than I am. So I really moved up here to where I wanted to be in the first place, because there were other people up here earlier. But so anyways, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. That way you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. That is what I want for myself, and that's what I want for all of you, for anybody who has the Christian faith. We're coming up on end times, man, or we're in end times. We are supposed to be strong men and be able to weather these storms. That's why I'm doing it. I'm going to be a farmer. In the next couple of years, I'm going to be a farmer. I need my strength. I need my mental, physical, and intestinal fortitude to do that. To be completely off the grid and completely independent on my own without depending on any other outside source for food or whatever. But anyway, that concludes my video for today, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope it all resonates with you. If you have any questions, I've asked this before, if y'all have any questions, you can feel free to ask in the comments. I read my comments. I don't get a whole lot of them, so there's room for a lot of them. If you have a question and you want to know something, I'm going to give you my perspective, and that comes out of my experience. Yes, I consume a lot of content, and I've learned a lot from them, but I want to do this from my perspective. And I want to, if you ask me a question, I want to give you an answer that pertains to what I'm doing, and in hopes it'll work for you. So with that said, folks, hope you enjoyed the video. It's a beautiful spring day. I've been getting outside a lot more here as of late, and it's funny. My scalp has, I feel like my scalp has been a little crispy, for lack of a better word, kind of sunburnt. So I went and got this cute little hat today at Dollar General. Doesn't look like it comes from Dollar General, but that's where I got it. Cute? Did I just say cute? I got a cool hat. Anyway, folks, be well, peace. We'll talk next time.